Salutations, friends and lovers. About to go watch Joker 2, but I wanted, for posterity's sake, to get my thoughts on the movie before I go and watch it. Kind of a little pre-review, if you will. To be honest, I'm going into this movie pretty biased against it. Now, I haven't seen any of the spoilers. I know the ending got leaked. I haven't watched it or read anything about it, so I don't know what it's about. But in the age of the internet, you can't escape everything, and I have seen some people say that it's not a great movie, but, I mean, I like movies that other people talk shit about. I mean, hello. But my reasons for not wanting really to go see this movie, or at least not being thrilled about it, are because I really like Joker. That movie came out of nowhere. It blew my mind. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. I know it got memed all to hell, but it was such a breath of fresh air when it came out, and it's one of those movies that I think wraps itself up perfectly and does not need a sequel. There are a lot of things out there that I love and I think are fantastic, but I think they were best left alone. And I know it made $1 billion, and to a studio, especially a studio that's struggling like DC or Warner Brothers, as soon as they saw what that movie made, the $1 billion, the writing was on the wall. I knew they weren't going to let that one go and without a sequel. There's so many movies and video games out there that the first entry is so good. It's so tight. They're so well done. The only thing the sequels did for them was tarnish their reputation. I'm talking about, and I've got my notes here, Hellraiser. Now, Hellraiser isn't one of those movies that, it's not like it wasn't demanding a sequel. It's not like a sequel couldn't be made. It's just that the first one was so good and everything after it just kept progressively getting worse and worse that, I really wish that anything after one didn't exist. Then we've got The Matrix. The first Matrix, fantastic. Just this side of perfect, and then after that they just got way too pretentious. Somehow the special effects got worse. I don't know how that works. Animatrix 2, that one's great. The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, that one, the first Mummy, is great. Everything after that sucks. Jurassic Park, the first one's great. The second one is and then everything after that sucks. But with that being said, there are some movies with completely unnecessary sequels that I actually really like. Blade Runner 2049, for instance. I avoided watching that movie because I didn't feel like I needed it. Blade Runner does not need a sequel, so I went back and watched Blade Runner 2049, and I really liked it. That was a completely unnecessary sequel that I really dug. Top Gun Maverick. I don't really like the first Top Gun, but Top Gun Maverick was a big surprise to me, and I really liked that movie. So there are some really unnecessary sequels out there that I still will say are unnecessary, but I do like them. So I'm not just completely against the idea of a sequel, because sometimes they can surprise the hell out of you. But I don't know if that's going to be the case with Joker 2. I'm really hoping it is. I know there's a lot of people hating on this movie. But again, I like a lot of movies that people don't care for. I mean, Megalopolis just came out. I really liked Megalopolis, and the more I think about it, the more I do like it. It's not perfect. It's kind of a mess, but there's something really interesting about that movie that's just been sticking with me. So here's hoping. Fingers crossed. I hope it's great. I hope I don't wind up wasting my time and money on this movie. Hopefully when I come back, I've got positive news for you guys. But until then, we'll see you in a bit. Well, I did it. I watched the movie. Arthur Fleck is in a mental hospital due to the events of the first movie. Obviously. Here, he interacts with the other patients and the guards who bully him, simple as. While here, though, he meets another patient, Harley Quinzel, during a music class, and the two quickly strike up a relationship. Harley is enamored with the Joker and wants Arthur to cast aside his timid persona and become who he really is. District Attorney Harvey Dent is able to have Arthur declared mentally competent to stand trial, where they will seek the death penalty. Now, Arthur must show the world who he really is. Is the Joker a separate, uncontrollable personality summoned violently into existence by the horrible mistreatment and bullying that Arthur has suffered his whole life? Or are Arthur and the Joker one and the same? Also, it's a musical. Right out of the gate, I do not like this movie. I wanted to wait a little while before writing my review because I wanted to give myself a little more time to decide whether or not I just completely wasted a little over 2 hours of my life. Some things are actually pretty good. For instance, the acting. Old reliable Joaquin Phoenix gives another stellar performance as Arthur Fleck. Everything you loved about his performance in the first movie is all here. But since we've already seen it, it's more expected than revelatory. Lady Gaga is good too. This is the first thing I've seen her in, and I gotta say, she's a pretty good actress. I mean, the entire cast gives good performances, so kudos there. Todd Phillips is a very competent director. He knows how to frame a shot, I'll give him that. The whole movie looks really good. It's not pretty, but it has this sort of attractive ugliness. Reminds me of David Fincher. Another good thing about this movie is that it doesn't erase the first movie from existence. Now that I've seen it, I can blissfully forget about it and just watch the first one, much like I do with Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all the other completely unnecessary sequels and reboots out there. And lastly, I supported a small local business with my patronage, so that's good. Now, the bad. This movie is as dull, aimless, and bloated as it gets. The writing might be competently done in that all the grammar is correct, but it's just a whole lot of words talking about not much at all. I said the performances are good, and they are, but the material they're working with sucks. So it's like you have Andrea Bocelli singing Friday by Rebecca Black. It's all just wasted effort. The premise of a guy who's tired of being bullied and mocked, donning clown makeup and violently lashing out at the world could sound a little ludicrous, but it was pulled off fantastically in the first movie. Everything about it was completely believable thanks to the phenomenal writing. Arthur showing up to the Murray Franklin show in full face paint and them letting him do it felt plausible because it's a TV show looking to get ratings. Arthur doing it in a courtroom and the judge letting him get away with it is utter nonsense. No judge would allow Arthur to wear his makeup and put on that goofy southern accent. The judge keeps saying, no circus acts and no sudden outbursts, and then he just lets circus acts and sudden outbursts happen. All verisimilitude is just thrown out the window in these scenes. Finally, seeing the Joker in full in the first movie was an amazing payoff. Here, it feels like a trite member berry. Hey, remember that with the makeup and the red suit and the crazy? Well, here it is again, but stupid. Also, I don't mind if a movie is a slow burn or, as I like to put it, deliberately paced, as long as it keeps moving and something keeps happening and it feels like we're going somewhere. But Joker 2 Le Bougalou Electrique just drags its feet with its is he or is he not the Joker crap, and it constantly stops to give us another song and dance number. And my God, are there a lot of songs. I know Todd Phillips probably thought he was being really bold by making a movie about a psychotic clown into a musical, but he overdoes it to the point of absurdity. The first few times it happens, it's actually pretty cool and works really well, but they just keep coming. There's a new song every few minutes, and some of them go on for 3 or 4 minutes, maybe longer, which is a long time in screen time. Halfway through the movie, whenever a song started, all I could think was, oh, for God's sake, here we go again. When I looked up the runtime, I was shocked to see that it's only 2 hours and 18 minutes. It feels like a 3-hour slog. Finally, I gotta talk about the ending. My immediate reaction, verbatim and out loud, was, you have got to be fucking kidding me. I won't spoil it, but suffice to say, it is one of the stupidest things I have ever seen committed to film. The entire movie turns out to be a flawed but kind of interesting 2-hour and 18-minute build-up to one of the gushiest liquid farts in history that utterly ruins anything and everything that came before it. If Todd Phillips thought that dumb reveal was going to be shocking and clever, all he managed was shockingly retarded. Todd, are you so ashamed of the first movie that you purposefully set out to destroy it and its legacy? Because if that's the case, whatever, man. I'm just gonna memory hole this piece of trash and rewatch the only Joker movie you ever made. I know there was a lot of hullabaloo from a certain small sect of people claiming that Joker glorifies incels or toxic males or whatever other buzzwords they could try to hurl at it in order to scare people away from going to see the movie, but it clearly didn't work. Just because a protagonist is not a good person doesn't mean people aren't allowed to like him. And just because people like him doesn't mean they endorse his actions. Harvey Keitel in Bad Lieutenant has to be the worst human being I've ever seen as the protagonist of a film, and yet I love that movie, and I find the character fascinating. And yeah, I kind of root for him in that movie because I want to see justice done, even if it's done by a complete monster. But in no way do I find his character one for me to emulate or model my life after. It's almost as if, gasp, people can separate fantasy from reality. One of my favorite quotes of all time is from Aristotle, and it goes like this: "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain an idea without accepting it." Figure it out. In the end, it's just as I feared. Joker Foie Gras is a completely unnecessary movie. It's a dismal, pretentious waste of the audience's time and the time and effort and hard work of everyone involved in making it. I wholeheartedly recommend doing literally anything but going and watching this movie. Thank you so much for watching. Adios.